what's up, everybody? It's your boy DJ Ro. Man, you guys will not believe the mess up that just happened with DJ Ro. He went through the whole spiel, and his mic wasn't on.
Oh.
It's on now, though. This is DJ Ro, ReadyForTheWorld.com, Global History Night.
Global History Night.
Anna is here and in the building. What's going down, Anna?
I am doing good. How are you?
I am good.
It has been a crazy week, huh?
Yes, it has.
Oh, see? I had my mic in the wrong place.
Yeah, she's trying to copy me on Messenger.
I know. Yeah, I want to be you. Yeah. It's good to see you. It's good to see everyone. It's been a hell of a week, huh?
Yes, it has. Woo.
Yes. Well, I'm very glad you can make it tonight. And we have another person who's going to be coming over. And everything is really good.
Nice.
Yes. So stuff has been going on with some of the things that we follow. And I'm going to start, I just talked to my dad earlier and gave him a little rundown on what I was going to be talking about. And so I'm going to go into the whole thing because it's dad approved. So, okay, we've talked before about the Emperor Theodoros II of Ethiopia, who killed himself in 1868 when the British troops were storming his palace. And so they cut some of his hair and took it back to Great Britain. And they also took his son, who was 7 years old, Prince. I don't even have it right here. Prince Alamehu. And so we covered it before that in March, the National Museum returned the hair that was cut from the hair of the king. They returned that to Ethiopia. But people want the bones of the prince. They want to bury him like in their hallowed grounds. And Queen Elizabeth, the current queen, has refused to send the bones home. And the excuse she is given is that the prince is buried in sort of a vault in Windsor Castle, and where there's a whole bunch of people buried, and it would disturb a bunch of bones if they go in and find this little Ethiopian prince and skeleton and send him back to Ethiopia. Yeah. So my dad said, "This is bad. Like, well, why don't they just send somebody else's bones? Just send some fake bones."
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that would be kind of hard.
Bones?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, there's DNA testing and all that.
That's probably what they do.
Yeah, I don't
make
think
sure to take DNA from the real bones so that something like that happens. You would think they would.
Yeah, but so they're saying they don't really know what part he's buried in, and there's a whole bunch of people buried in there, and so and it would be disturbing the sacred burial grounds.
Right.
So, that's just one of the things we like to talk about here. Things being returned to their places, records being opened, and so we have news in that regard from Norway. Okay, there was a Norwegian explorer called Thor Heyerdahl, and he took thousands of artifacts from Easter Island, which is in the South Pacific, I think, back to Norway in the 1950s. So not even that long ago. And so an agreement was signed by representatives of the museum and in Santiago when the king and queen of Norway were visiting there. And so they're going to send back the artifacts to Eastern Island. Apparently this explorer guy just took them and said he was going to send them back, but we know how that goes. So his son is trying to help out with this. So 70 years later, stuff is being sent back. So that's important. I mean, you shouldn't just be able to take stuff. And so, talking about reckoning with history, we have news from here in the United States, which is the governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, signed a bill into law which is creating the nation's first statewide Truth Commission, empowered to investigate lynchings and address it says empowered to investigate racial terror lynchings, which they're kind of inherently that, but and address the legacy of racial terror. And so it was sponsored by Jocelyn Pena Milnick, and the bill received overwhelming bipartisan support in the House and passed the state Senate. And so Maryland already has a legacy museum. Well, no, that this is a different place. But originally, the idea was to have a monument at every lynching, but at every lynching site. But more than 4,400 lynchings took place between 1877 and 1950. So that was impractical. So okay. So what do you think it means to have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission?
I honestly do not know.
Okay. So it's one of the things where getting legal documentation matters. So one of the things that would happen would be to go back and investigate death certificates and see what it said, and put down the actual cause of death. And so with some of these people, I don't even know if there were death certificates, but say stuff like that is important.
So how would they be able to research someone's death certificate if they don't have one?
Well, I just sort of said two things at once. They would, issuing death certificates for people that didn't have them. That would be one thing to do. And if there was a death certificate, it wouldn't have been accurate.
Right.
So correcting the history would be one of those things. But yeah, I mean...
Do you think it's possible to correct the history of something like that?
Well, correct it so far as accuracy. Like...
How? How would you... I mean, I'm just curious.
Like if you... Well, like the death certificate...
Like if I died right now and like 30, 20 years from now, let's just say no one had a death... How would they know really how I died? How would they remember that?
Well, they would... Well, first they'd go back and track a birth certificate because they would need to find proof that somebody existed in the first place. Well, with some of it, it would be asking families for their recollections, and so with some people, it would be asking about grandparents and great grandparents. Right. But that's not. It's not. You don't really need to go that far back. You'd look at newspapers. I mean, the sort of thing I really love doing. I mean, you just would have to do some research, because it's not like this stuff was kept secret for the most part, So there's like pictures of it. So going back and putting down murder on a death certificate. So that's one thing that it could mean, and putting up memorials. Okay, yeah. Now I can't remember where the Legacy Museum is at the moment, but okay. See what they did for that is I've seen pictures of it. Okay, at the Legacy Museum, which is put down hanging steel columns. There's 800 hanging steel columns in this museum, and each one represents a county where lynchings took place, and it's each engraved with the names of the victims. Okay, so the Legacy Museum is in Alabama, I think, and so originally, the idea was to have a monument at each place where people were lynched, but there's too many of them for them. I guess they couldn't quite swing that because there were too many of them. So 800. So if you represent each county and have the names of each person on that column, then you're documenting it. You're making it real. I mean, you're making it so people can look at that and acknowledge that it really happened. And I mean, coming from our own perspective, I mean, for people whose relatives were lynched, it means that that the crime has been acknowledged and recognized. So that's kind of what you do with truth and reconciliation commissions. So I mean, it's pretty cool that there's actually something like this happening in the United States. I mean, it's something. There's been truth and reconciliation commissions in South Africa and in Rwanda, but the United States just hasn't reckoned with the targeted, I mean, they talk about terrorism now, but this was terrorism. Okay, because I saw Rosewood since we were talking about John Singleton in our last show. Yeah.
So what was your synapse on Rosewood?
Well, I mean, I would have liked, it's sad. One of the reasons it's sad that John Singleton died so young, because I would have liked to have seen him do the movie with more maturity, perhaps. I felt, I mean, all the characters were kind of like stereotypical, but sort of like that's just how it was. I mean, you can't put everything in the movie. I would have liked to have seen more of their everyday lives before it happened, but because then it got kind of repetitive. It kept but yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, I just learned about the Roseville massacres in the past year. Right. I didn't even know about them.
I didn't know about it until the movie.
Yeah.
So I ain't gonna lie, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
When I first saw the movie, I didn't know if it was real or not. And then when I heard that was real, I was like, whoa, that really happened?
Whoa, so you didn't stay till the end to see the credits?
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying still, I mean,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At the time when that came out, they had a lot of different movies coming out that were kind of similar.
Yeah.
But that was the first one I know, and that was really real. Not depicting what happened a long time ago, but that was supposed to be really what happened type thing.
Yeah.
So it was trippy. I didn't know. It was just crazy.
Well, yeah. So I mean, it's good that movies like that are out there.
Yeah.
So
that was a trippy movie.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God, that scene with him on the horse.
Yeah. The scene that really got me, and I don't know if this is the same scene you're talking about, because he had a couple of scenes on the horse, was when he was being hung.
Yeah, the scene when he was being hung on the...
he was able to hold...
Oh my God.
That was like...
And he got his hands on...
Yeah. I was like, man...
Okay, so for our listeners, they had Ving Rhames, they had him sitting on the horse with a... And so they were trying, with a rope around his neck, and so they were trying to get the horse to... The horse to run away. The horse wouldn't move.
Right.
Wouldn't move because the horse knew what was up. So then they were about to shoot the horse, and then so the guy told the horse to run. So the horse ran.
Right.
And then oh man, that was crazy. He got his hands untied and got his hand in his pocket to get his knife and did it like that.
That was like one of the most gangster scenes I've seen.
That was. And the horse was waiting for him.
Right.
So,
that was gang. That was. What I didn't really like about the movie that really upset me, because I know it's a true story, I know how stuff was back then, is how everybody in that town knew how that lady was.
Well, yeah.
But it's like, even though she said what she said, the people knew she was lying.
Yeah.
But they still, you know what I'm saying? They still went through the motions of blaming everybody. She was, he did it, you know. Yeah. And it's just, I didn't like that part. I didn't like, you know, I get it, you're racist and all, but dude, you guys know this lady's full of it. You know what I'm saying? You know that she's the town.
Well, it's good that they put that in because it happened, and it's a very you know, like, yeah, I mean, it's showing that, I don't know, I mean, the length, or like how deep people's racism is or was, that it doesn't need, maybe, I think it kind of shows that, like, I don't know, that, like, it doesn't even have to be, like, people don't even need, all they need is an excuse. It's not even, it doesn't even matter to them whether something is real or not. So I think it's kind of showing the terror of something, that it's sort of like, okay, they're just ready to go. Right. And so...
it was, whew, man.
And it just adds a whole nother layer of just, I don't know, horribleness, because what happened a lot of the time was if a woman was beaten up by her husband or something, she'd blame a black guy.
Right.
So, you know, you can't, it's not that I am not, I mean, you know, some of these women were in, I mean, there's no excuse for what they did, but they weren't in a position to have much, they didn't really have much power either. And so for some of them it was, or then for some of them it would have been to, like, if they were scared they were pregnant or something. Yeah. So, yeah, that was pretty bad. And actually they just had, I don't know, there was just another legal case about it where a woman, and it wasn't, where a woman, oh, okay, so like the woman who lied about Emmett Till whistling at her, she's still alive. Mm-hmm. And she still won't admit the truth.
She kind of did. Didn't she kind of admit the truth that he didn't do it or something? She admitted.
Not really. I mean, she's still sticking to it as far as I know.
I thought I saw something where she admitted the truth.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Let me see. So I read something or something. I heard something about that.
I mean, that would really be something if somebody were to, like, admit that, you know.
After being accused.
Yeah, just knowing that I mean, Jesus. It's like just knowing what an impact that had. I mean, the Emmett Till murder just influenced it just influenced so many people, you know, for people who were listening. I mean, his mother had asked for him to have he was lynched, and his mother asked for him to have an open casket because she wanted the public to see what had been done to her son. And so for a lot of people, you know, it's...
I'm sorry.
No, please, go ahead.
Okay, I guess author Timothy Tyson released details of a 2008 interview with Carolyn Bryant, during which she disclosed that she fabricated the most sensational part of her testimony.
So she didn't really admit.
Bryant retracted her testimony that Till had grabbed her around her waist and uttered obscenities, saying that part's not true. She actually said that.
But she didn't say that.
That was kind of the main reason for what happened. Is, I mean, I don't know about the whistling part.
They accused him. Yeah, they accused him of whistling at her, one of the things they said is that Emmett Till like had a lisp, so it could have sounded like he was whistling. And to me, I'm like, okay, I don't know, man. I mean, to me, it just always seemed like so ridiculous.
Yeah.
In the first place, man. I don't think teenage African American boys are that interested in like ladies.
And I honestly don't
like
believe,
older,
especially back then,
exactly,
because they know what could happen to them. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That kind of is on the realm of Rosewood to me. Like,
yeah,
like you said, you know, I don't know if maybe she just needed attention that day.
Yeah.
Or what had happened, but I think that's on that realm because I think back then they wouldn't have done that because they known they could have gotten killed or something.
Yeah, well, supposedly, I mean, since he was from the north, that's what he wasn't as cautious. That's one of the things that was said, that his mom like sent him down to visit the family in the South, and you know told them to be really, really careful.
And
but
there's a lot of stuff I remember, and it's like on here, like on the post on this. This is on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
they were saying that her husband Roy Bryant was always verbally abusive. I think she did it for attention.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the boy... I mean, even still, and I understand just because he came from another part, I still think back then, a black man whistling at a white woman, I just don't see that happening.
I mean, they were practically like children. I mean, I think he was like 14. I mean, to him, she would have looked like an old lady to him, okay? 14-year-old African boys are not interested, for the most part, in that era. Like, why would he be interested in an old white lady?
I just don't think he would, even if she was really good. I mean, I don't know what she looked like, but I just don't think back then. I think for the point of knowing, for you going after a while, even if he wouldn't have whistled or just tried to talk to her, I just don't think he would have did it. Even if he was from somewhere else, they just back then they wouldn't have done that because they'd known what it caused.
Well, yeah, and just like, I mean, she would have been ancient to him. I mean, you know, so.
Yeah. I personally think she did it out of attention or something. Maybe she wanted attention that day.
Yeah.
They said her husband was abusive.
Yeah.
You don't know. Maybe she felt like, you know, she needed attention, just like the girl from Rosewood, the lady from Rosewood, kind of.
Yeah.
You saw the movie, and I don't want to spoil the movie, but. You know.
It's okay, people. Well, she got beat. Well, a guy beat her up, and then she said that a guy she was having an affair with beat her up, and she said it was a black guy.
Yeah, and then she got all that attention.
Yeah,
and it was kind of because of a mixture of the fact that if she would have said the white guy, she probably would have got all the attention.
People might have been like, you were asking for it.
But since it was a black guy, they gave her a lot of attention. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You know. And it was like, I think that's why she did it. She knew. First off, she knew she had the bruises on her once her husband came back.
Yeah, she had to try and
she had to make up something.